Giving you guys a couple seconds to join me. Give me a chance to get comfy here in this nice warm sauna we call East Texas. Hey there, Mary here at Mary's Heirloom Seeds, and welcome to our weekly Thursday night live here on YouTube. If you are just joining me for the first time, please hit that subscribe button, like this video, give us a thumbs up. Tell us what you think, and tell us where you're at. Tell us where you are gardening here. We are now in East Texas. If you missed it, apparently a couple people missed our announcement. Sorry, I'm just getting comfy here. We had a live video. It was a big reveal a couple weeks ago, and we announced that we were moving out of Southern California and to East Texas. And we're here. We are 3 weeks into our garden here. I should say, actually, take that back. We are 3 weeks on the property. We are 2 weeks into our gardens. And I recently had a video where I did a little bit of an explanation of what I grew, why I grew it, and how I got started. So tonight is going to be something a little different. For those of you just joining me, feel free to say hi. Tell me where you are. Tell me what you're growing and where you're growing it. I wanted to first address a couple questions that we had this week, and then I want to talk about fall planting. So here's the irony of this conversation tonight. I looked back in some of my older videos, and it was too cold outside to go live to talk about heat-tolerant crops. Now today it is hot outside, and we're going to talk about fall crops, which are cool weather crops. Now, why is that? Now, if you don't like to plan ahead and you just like to wing it and plant your garden, that's totally cool. I do that often, but I also prefer to plan out some of my garden because it really makes the whole process easier. I'm the kind of person that likes to make a list. I don't always stick to the list, but at least I've made the list and I can kind of go by it that way. Sorry, I'm watching some activity in the back part of the property here. Anyway, this whole thing is new to me, so there's a lot going on that back side that kind of freaks me out. I'm not quite sure what's going on back there. Let's see, near Fort Smith, Arkansas, tomatoes, cucumbers, beans, flowers, peppers, herbs. Hello, Denise in sunny San Diego. Hey, David. David, you're in a cooler weather, so you've got a little shorter of a planting season. So let's answer those first questions. The first one is, what can I plant now? I literally get this question every week. And that's why I really stress checking out our comprehensive planting guide. I've spent hours and hours and hours combining lots of information and putting it all in one place. Now, I had somebody tell me, your planting guide is too difficult for me to understand. And let me give you a little bit of information, because most people say it's super easy to follow. The reason it's easy to follow is, hey, Christian, yes, it is hot and humid. It is really hot right now and we're outside. So if you don't understand how our planting guide works, if you scroll through every one of those the texts is a link to another article we've written. And if you're not sure how to do that, you can always use the search option on our website. It's on the top left-hand side. There's a little magnifying glass, and you can just enter what you're looking for right there. You can just put comprehensive, you could put planting guide, you could put fall crops, you could put summer crops, you could put heat-loving crops, and all of that information is there. The benefit to the comprehensive planting guide is it's not just what to plant and when, it's literally like how to start from seed, what to use for seeds, do-it-yourself garden projects. There's tons of information. It would take me days to explain all that information in videos, so I made a comprehensive planting guide, and it's free. Now, the second question that I got this week, that is not a very common question, sorry, it's really hot, so I'm gonna hydrate here. The second question I got this week, not a super common question, and that's, why don't you put planting information with the planting dates on your seed packs? And that literally goes along with the first question. The reason we don't have planting dates on our seed packs is every region is going to have a different planting time. If our Florida customers followed our planting guidelines for the Pacific Northwest, they would have a very tough time growing a successful garden. I've mentioned that a couple times. When I first moved to South Florida back in 2008, I think it was, 2007, I had experience growing in Southern California, and I used that knowledge to plant in South Florida. I was like, oh, I can do this. I've been doing this for years, no big deal. Boy, was I wrong. When our customers in New York have snow on the ground, our customers in Southern Florida are growing tomatoes. So I don't want to give false information. There's really no reason to have planting dates on our seed packs, because everybody in the U.S., for the most part, in different regions, is going to be growing at different times. Hey, Morgan, welcome. Thanks for joining us. So that's why I'm going to talk about fall planting. Now, in general, fall planting is cool weather crops. For those of you in hot climates like Florida, and me in Texas as well, your planting information is going to be slightly different. In September and November, October, you're not going to be planting the same thing in Florida as you are in Maryland, New York, Arizona. We all have different planting information. So that's part of the reason you don't have planting info on our seed packs, because it might be different for you than it is for me, or, different parts of the U.S. or Canada, for goodness sake. We even ship to Canada. So your planting information is not going to be the same. So let's first talk about frost dates. It is very, very important when you're talking about fall planting to understand what a frost date is. For those of you that don't have frost, that's a whole nother story. For those of you in, say, 10A, 10B, Christian says, are you growing okra? Oh, yes, I'm growing okra. I planted 3 different types of okra already. I have more in the works. We planted Clemson spineless okra, cowhorn okra, and red burgundy okra. And next on the list is going to be Texas Hill Country red okra. So yes, lots of okra to be planted. And it is a hot weather variety. I am thrilled. Our okra right now is thriving in the garden. So let's talk about a frost date. Your frost date really means when your temperatures fall lower than 32 degrees, which is cold enough to damage or kill your crops. So your planting season is between your last frost date, which is usually in spring, and your first frost date, which is at the end of fall. So you're planting, for example, oh, absolutely. Christian says all your store, I presume. Absolutely. We grow from the same crops that we sell to our customers as well. And hopefully we've got some new varieties coming up very soon. I'm looking in the garden and I'm seeing some stuff sprouting. So let me give you an example. We are in Ben Wheeler, Texas, which is just outside of Tyler, Texas. And that is the bigger area that we're going to use for our planting guides. Now, my last frost date here is March 23rd, approximately. All of our planting guides are approximately, because Mother Nature changes. There's always going to be different years, different seasons. Some years you're going to have more rain. Some years you're going to have less rain. I just posted a video on our Facebook page of some beautiful rain we got last night. Some people say, oh, that's not normal. Some people say, oh, we get more rain, we get less rain. So my first frost date approximately is March 23rd. And that's my last frost date. My first frost date approximately is November 11th. David says, I'm planning more lettuce, beans, peas, probably radish for fall. Right now, I'm just getting tomatoes and peppers growing. Awesome. So that gives me approximately 232 frost-free days. That's a really good planting season. Some people only have 150, and that was part of the reason that we stuck to Texas, and we were in Southern California. We were really looking for something, an area to grow in that had a very similar growing season. So some crops do well in frost, but not frozen. For example, kale and turnips. They can handle a little bit of frost and still maintain their crispness. Actually, turnips and kale can tend to be on the sweeter side when they are harvested after a frost. So that gives you something to think about when you're planning your fall crops. I am staying away from Dallas. I have driven through it a couple times, and I'm really not interested in crazy people. Not crazy people in Dallas, but just in general, like the craziness of the population. I would prefer to have a little smaller of a town, which is why we chose Ben Wheeler. It's really small, and it's just outside of Tyler, which is a little bigger. But for example, I grew up in San Diego, which is about, I want to say 2 million people, but I lived in Ramona, which was only 20,000 people. So I do prefer a little smaller of a town. It's a little quieter. When I say crazy, I mean kind of like the fast pace. I really like the slow pace here, so that's kind of why we chose a smaller area. So let's talk about our fall crops. We answered our common questions, and that was really like growing. You know, what are you growing, and why are you growing, and why don't you tell us when to grow? And that's the benefit of our comprehensive planting guide. We do share with you how to grow, but it's going to be different for everybody. The key to a successful fall and winter garden is going to be understanding your frost dates and then planning accordingly. So we have a list on our website, and that is 90, 60, and 30-day planting. And I would suggest adding another 10 days to that for germination. So usually these dates are from germination to harvest. Some varieties take longer to germinate than others. My oak, most of my garden right now has already germinated, and we only started planting on the 30th. But I staggered my planting. So the first couple rows were planted on the 30th. Another couple rows were planted on the 1st, and another couple rows were planted on the 4th. And then I have a whole Three Sisters garden that I just planted a couple days ago. I will have another video on our Three Sisters garden. It won't be a live video, but it will be a video that I share to our YouTube channel. So if you're just joining me, please feel free to share with me where you are and what you're growing. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. I really appreciate it. I did just send out an email this morning. So if you aren't signed up for our email list, I highly recommend you check it out. You can go to our website, which is marysheirloomseeds.com. You can scroll down to the very bottom of our website homepage, and at the very bottom it says newsletter, and you can enter your email and subscribe. We do not sorry, totally got sidetracked. We don't sell your information. So that's one of the things that is a plus. You can always enter your information. We don't sell it. Have you ever made a shipment to borrow a K? We do ship to Alaska. I don't know specifically on cities or towns. A lot of our Alaska customers grow in greenhouses to extend their season. I think Alaska is zones 1 through 3 or 1 through 4. So some of the area in Alaska, you have a little more of a growing season, and some you have almost none. It's like 30 days. So you can definitely plant in Alaska, but you just have to plant accordingly. So we have a website, on our website, I should say, and it's a fall planting for 90, 60, and 30 days. So it gives you an idea of what you can plant in that time to kind of give you an idea of what to grow. So we mentioned frost dates. What you're going to do, scoping out the backyard, it looks like we got some big birds hanging out. So you take your you take your first frost date, which is going to be fall, and you count back 100 days for your 90-day planting. You take your first frost date and you count back 70 days for your 60-day. 30 days like a blink. Yeah. And then exactly. So, and then for your 30 days, again, I suggest adding 10 days just to give you an idea, just to give you a little kind of wiggle room. And honestly, 30 days is like bunching onions and radish, maybe some greens if you want to eat them as microgreens. But most lettuce is like 40 to 60 days, so give it some time. But for our 90 days is pretty simple. It's a pretty significant list. You've got things like beets, carrots, parsnips. Parsnips are awesome. By the way, if you're just joining me, we also sent out in our email a free seed offer. So if you missed that, you would definitely want to sign up for our email list because it definitely needs some looking into. Some veggies take more than 30 days to mature. Absolutely. And that's why we have that information on our website. So rutabagas, onions, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, cauliflower, fava beans, regular beans, you can plant all around that 90 days. For your 60 days, you've got carrots, leeks, turnips, kohlrabi, broccoli. Depending on which broccoli you're looking at, we are giving away a free pack of broccoli on orders over $20 through July 25th. So if you missed the email, I would definitely recommend signing up for our email list. After I'm done with the video, in the comment section or the description section of this video, I'll share the link so you can sign up. You've got cauliflower, collards, Swiss chard, my absolute favorite, chives, pretty much every lettuce variety you could possibly imagine you can probably grow in fall. One of the common things that complaints I get from customers is bolting. If your lettuce is bolting, if your not Swiss chard, but if your cilantro is bolting, if your broccoli is bolting, it's too hot. I even have a video titled, "It's Too Hot for Broccoli." Listen, I'm a rebel gardener. I break the rules all the time on what should be and shouldn't be planted, but I don't grow broccoli in summertime. It's just not the appropriate time. Maybe I'm a rebel gardener, but I do want a successful garden. So if I'm going to grow peppers in the wintertime, it's going to be indoors under lights because peppers don't like cold weather. If I'm going to go broccoli, it's going to be outside in the fall, winter, and spring because broccoli doesn't like hot weather. It bolts almost immediately. So if you want a successful garden, you do want to plant cool weather crops when it gets cool, and you can plan ahead for that. So like I mentioned earlier in the video, if you want to plant a fall garden, it's important to start thinking about it even when it's hot. It is probably in the 90s today. It is humid, I am sweaty, but I'm already thinking about cool weather crops. Cool weather crops are some of my favorite varieties to grow. Beets, lettuce, carrots, Swiss chard. I talk about Swiss chard all the time. Those are some of my favorite varieties to grow. So those are fall crops. If you have any questions, you are welcome to send me an email. We aren't necessarily answering the phone all the time because we are still busy. One, getting our garden set up, and two, getting your seed orders out. Christian says, I planted once and it bolted quickly. Hang on really quick. And it got bitter. Yes. So arugula is a cool weather crop. Sometimes it can be harvested when it's warmer, but it really is a cool weather crop. David says, I heard Swiss chard can be used as a microgreen as well. Absolutely. So that is a great comment, David. Thank you for mentioning that. So I got a comment from someone asking, they had planted radish seeds too close together. And the same goes for Swiss chard as well. They planted too close and they said, can I eat the sprouts? Absolutely. There are people that buy bulk seeds from me in the sprouting section, and they'll buy radish. And you actually eat the radish sprouts as a microgreen. So the same can be said for beets, The same can be said for Swiss chard. Those can be eaten as a microgreen, and they really are delicious. You only let them grow an inch or two, and you snip them off or pull them out 3 inches even, so you get a little more greenery, and it can definitely be eaten as a microgreen. The same can be said for basil. Can you imagine eating miniature, bite-sized, flavorful bursts of basil? So that's definitely an option. And if you are interested in purchasing for microgreens, send me a private email. My email is mary@marysheirloomseeds.com, and I'll see if we can accommodate your request. I think that's it for me. We are planning and planting our fall garden. In case you missed it, definitely check out my last video. I shared a video a couple days ago on getting started in a brand new garden in July when it is hot. It's a really exciting adventure for us. And even though we have our hot weather garden going, we are ready to start our cool weather garden. Kristen says, can you eat onion flowers? Taste like allium, the same. I have never eaten onion flowers. I've harvested the flowers for seeds, but I've never actually eaten the flowers. That's a good question. I will have to experiment on that this year. All right, so I am Mary signing off at Mary's Heirloom Seeds. If you have any questions, you can reach me at mary@marysheirloomseeds.com. Check out our website. It is marysheirloomseeds.com. And like I mentioned, I sent out all of this awesome information in a text format this morning to our email list. If you haven't signed up for our email list, you can do one of two things. You can send a private email to me, or you can go to our website, marysheirloomseeds.com, scroll all the way down to the bottom and subscribe to our email list there. That's about it. I'm Mary at Mary's Heirloom Seeds signing off, and happy planting.